Just knocking off the rust here. There we go. Okay, looks like we're live. I'm gonna hit that button.
I don't want to learn to play the guitar, but I want to learn to play one David Bowie song.
Do you ever see that video that says how to play guitar well enough to get laid? It's just some guy learning how to play Wonderwall, which back when the video came out in 2004, that song would have gotten you laid. Probably not now.
All right, everybody.
Hey, oh! All right, that was.
Maybe.
By the way, I really hate that song.
It's literally my favorite song of all time.
Well,
that's not even a work. That's real.
Why?
It resonates with me. Start the show.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't have any Wonderwall, so I'm just going to start with our stupid. I think the open for this show is much better for the than the open of the heavy hitters. By the way,
it's being redone.
Good. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parson.
What are you cackling at, fatty? Too much pie, that's your problem.
And Fred Slow.
Anybody want a peanut?
On demand 24/7 at weighинradio.com.
Interior crocodile alligator. I drive a Chevrolet movie theater. Interior
Welcome
crocodile
to the Weigh-In,
alligator.
episode
I drive a
26 out of
Chevrolet
27. Mike, we're worse right now than my bracket because I owe the listener an apology for last week. We didn't have our ducks in a line. And because of that, you got the best of, which is good. We have some quality stuff, but we missed an opportunity. I am Fred Slow. You are Mike Parsons. Mike, I am sorry.
That's okay. I just thought you were blowing me off now that you're on 4 nights a week.
Oh my gosh, man! Who in their right mind gave me a promotion to Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.?
My question for you, Fred, is how come the name of all your shows have to do with weight?
Because I have I'm the guy that combats my low self-esteem with jokes.
Right. Well, I mean, it shines through. I mean, we definitely know you're self-conscious about being fat and you're trying to own it, but you're doing a terrible job.
Yeah, you can now catch the heavy hitters Monday through Thursday, myself with Mike Parsons. That's 8 to 10 here in St. Louis. Find that on 590thefan.com. And obviously, if you miss an episode, it's automatically archived to the website. So you can check that out, 590thefan.com/heavy hitters.
Hey, congratulations on that, by the way.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. Long time coming, the way I see it. I'm entitled to a lot, and this is one of those things.
I do have a question for you, Fred.
Yeah.
Since you were busy doing your show on the night of St. Patrick's Day, you probably didn't have time to search leprechaun porn on Pornhub, did you?
Didn't know that was that a big one?
Well, I guess, I mean, all over the place, the day after St. Patrick's Day, stories from news outlets, big and small, credible and made up, says that Pornhub searches for leprechaun porn went up 8,000% on St. Patrick's Day. And I thought, how festive.
I just Googled facts about leprechauns, which I think is an oxymoron.
Well, I mean, my question is, I didn't know people. I figured people's porn habits kind of stayed the same, no matter what time of year it is. I mean, do people look up like pumpkin porn around Halloween? Do they look up pilgrim porn? I mean, I didn't know that holiday themed porn searches were such a big deal until someone from one of the major news outlets says, let's see, what angle are we going to take on St. Patrick's Day?
So you believe because all muni pools open on Memorial Day that like lifeguard searches go through the roof?
Sorry about that, Fred. I'm actually on Pornhub searching leprechaun porn just to see.
So you think as the school year starts, that searches for hot teacher go through the roof?
I kind of have a feeling that one is through the roof no matter what time of the year it is. Perhaps cheerleader porn around football season. I mean, what's next, Fred? What's next?
I could keep going. I'm sure the Olympics are coming. We could do gymnastics jokes. I don't. So you think the searches are culturally relevant to what is going on today?
I mean, I didn't think so until this information came across my purview. But yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess December 26th of this year, I'll have to see how much Santa porn has increased. I actually did a quick search here on Pornhub, Fred, for research only. For leprechaun porn.
I didn't know you had enough time to open an incognito window.
Well, I mean, it's at my house. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, all I have to do is delete the browser history later on. But let's see. When I type in leprechaun on Pornhub, okay, there is a man having relations with a endowed woman wearing a leprechaun hat. That seems kind of lazy. I mean, he looks like he's at least normal height. I mean,
I don't like it. I don't like anything you're saying to me, because when you say leprechaun, I don't think pornographic. I think like shoemaker.
or the Warwick Davis character from the horror movies, which the next big swath of videos are just nude scenes from the Leprechaun Enterprise.
Was that the Jennifer Aniston? Is that one of them?
Yeah, but she was not nude. I think he had to wait for the In the Hoods and later on for them to devolve into nudity, because the first 4 Leprechauns, as we all know, Fred, were all about the storyline.
Speaking of nude, Mike, Hulk Hogan was nude on a video not long ago.
Right. That's one video I have not searched on Pornhub.
And I don't think it's available. I think Gawker can no longer make it available as they had so intended.
Now, did Gawker, did they post it, or did they mean to post it and Hulk Hogan was suing to get it blocked? Because I was under the impression that it was posted and his legal team asked Gawker to take it down, and Gawker would have walked away with this without having to pay a $115 million settlement if they would have just taken the video down the first time they were asked to take it down.
Yeah, and I think you're going back about 3 years. I think Gawker 3 years ago had the Bubba the Love Sponge wife Hulk Hogan thing, which I didn't see it. I don't know exactly what it was. In my fantasies, it's more than just a leg drop.
That's how he finishes, in the ring and out of the ring.
So they took it down because Gawker said, "No, we own this. This is our thing." And then Hulk Hogan said, "Actually, that's my thing on your thing. I own it." And then it was settled earlier this week that Gawker is going to $115 million. Are you kidding me?
Well, and we first heard about this video when when the big story on this was that Hulk Hogan was saying racist things in his sex tape video with Bubba the Love Sponge's wife. And the WWE pretty much just they erased all traces of Hulk Hogan out of the history books of pro wrestling. And then Hulk Hogan, he said, "Hey, wait a second. You posted a video of me having sex against my will on your website. I'm going to sue you." Gawker said
he was not having sex against his will. He was willingly having sex.
He was being videotaped having consensual sex against his will.
He was consensually being videotaped as well.
Was he? I thought
no, it was not a hidden camera situation. It was like camera on a tripod.
Oh, well, then either way, he did not consent to Gawker posting the video.
Yes, that is yes.
Yes. So and $115 million. Wow, he's definitely going to need that money because he's done in the world of pro wrestling.
Well, except now, Mike, if he has $115 million, he can then buy TNA Wrestling and have $114 million left over.
Right, but who wants all that headache?
I think Hulk Hogan's going to take what he can get right now. He's at what I'm going to call the lowest of lows. You heard of the testimonial when he was explaining the difference between Terry's unit and Hulk Hogan's unit. Hulk Hogan's unit was fictionalized in a way that it was greater than any other man who walked the earth, as opposed to Terry's, that's Hulk's real name is Terry. That his was not as endowed as he didn't have a trump. He couldn't trump Hulk Hogan.
Right. Wait. So you're telling me, we're speaking Hulk Hogan metaphors here, that Hulk Hogan was packing a python and Terry Bollea was just packing a boa constrictor.
Yeah, gardener snake, whatever.
And you know what? It's a character, so you can imagine what he's packing being anything you want. But I think there's an interesting sort of, it seems like a contradiction here, Fred, but it's not really, because even though legally Terry Bollea was right to sue Gawker, I think business-wise, the WWE was right to let him go when these things came to life. Because yes, this video was posted against his will.
You have your facts wrong a little bit.
Let's see what. All right, correct me then.
So it's not the sex tape wasn't the problem. He was still associated with the WWE during the sex tape. It was the racist rants
Right, that's what I'm saying.
on the tape.
Those were the same videos. That was the same video, right?
Oh, see, I thought those were private recordings about his daughter.
Yeah. Well, anyway, then I guess that just blows up my whole entire point. I was under the impression that this sex tape was where Hulk Hogan was making these racial epitaphs.
No, he was dropping some pretty foul language I'm not super comfortable with. Talking
now I've got to Google it, Fred.
With a producer about like opportunities for his wife or for his daughter and stuff, and how she could be a famous rapper if she were to do stuff with guys who were like not necessarily the white guys. It was.
Let's see.
It was not a great conversation to have.
No, and of course, everything I find here is a video that I can't just. Let's see. Hulk Hogan's race rants over daughter dating a black man. Let's see. Let's see. Wrestler. This is from the New York Post. Wrestler legend Hulk Hogan was body slammed by WWE on Friday. This is a article from July. Let's see. Body slammed by WWE on Friday. When it was revealed he went off on a racist tirade in his infamous sex tape. That's great. Of course. Let's see. Of course, the pop-ups make me lose my place. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, every time.
He went off on a racist tirade in his infamous sex tape that's at the center of the lawsuit with Gawker. So it was the same video.
Okay.
So you got two issues going on here, Fred, right?
Sex is not the issue here. It's anger. It's hatred.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. The WWE was in the right to let him go when those remarks came to light because they're a business. And if you're a business, your aim is to make as much money as possible by appealing to the biggest base of people possible. And if your biggest star is saying disparaging things against an entire ethnic group of people, you're going to lose some fans. So in that case, the WWE was in the right because they were protecting their business and they were protecting their monetary interests. Now Hulk Hogan was in the right legally because that video itself of him having sex was posted against his will. I don't think he would have been able to sue Gawker if it was just the racist comments that came out. But since it was him having sex on camera, that's why he was able to sue Gawker.
Gawker does not have $115 million.
So rest in peace, Gawker.
Right. Like, does Hogan is he going to be able to absorb that? Is that thing going to do that to file bankruptcy? If they do, I don't understand exactly how that works with court ordered payments. I don't know enough. With that said, I know O.J. Simpson's never paid $1 for his civil suit. Hulk Hogan might not see the $115 million, but I for certain will not see the video because of this. And I think that's all Hulk Hogan really wanted. Terry Bollea or whatever. I think this is done for Hogan. I think he's going to be out of the news for some time, and out of sight might be his best bet for the next calendar year or so. Then, I don't know, grab a reality TV show after that.
Well, although I have no sympathy for Terry Bollea with what he went through after saying those racist things on camera, I do think that if we're just focusing on the settlement itself, I think that this will go a long way towards deterring people from posting this type of stuff, outlets from posting this type of stuff against people's will. I say this every time a revenge porn story pops up in the news. If people don't know what revenge porn is, it's what happens. You have naked pictures of your ex, they piss you off, you post it, and you potentially ruin their lives. I think stuff like that, I think posting nude pictures of folks against their will, I think that should be sexual assault because you're pretty much violating them and you're putting their reputation at risk. And I think, a lot of times people like to fall under the defense of, oh, well, they sent it to me, so that implies they consent for me to do anything I want with them. No, it doesn't. You know what? You say that exact same thing if your nude bits are posted all over the place without you saying it's okay.
Yeah, there's a story right now in the news about a former teacher. Her name's Leanne Arthur, and a student Well, here, I'll just give you the headline. Leanne Arthur, the former teacher whose nude pictures were taken and sent out by a student, has filed a lawsuit against the Union County School District where she had worked for like 15 years. So there is this idea to me that people should not be allowed to obviously take photos of you without your permission. With that said, can you then blame the workplace because you don't have good faith, or you don't have a privacy that maybe the workplace should create for you, or they shouldn't? It's such a gray area to me that I don't know who's accountable when nude photos of you are taken and distributed. Is that on you? Is that on your environment? I don't necessarily have that answer.
Well, see, that's tough, especially with her profession. She's a teacher, right? And it's kind of her job to teach these kids and set an example. And I think that, number one, these kids that just helped themselves to her phone and took pictures of her nudes and sent them out to everyone, they're a bunch of turds. I mean, kids are just terrible, and those kids should face some discipline. But on the other hand, you know what your job is, and you know where you work. And I think it was a very, very foolish move on her part to take these pictures, take a phone full of these types of pictures to school where there's a chance that this very thing might happen.
Yeah, it's tough for me because and we talk about this all the time. I'm not one who polices vices. Like if you have a hobby or an interest that is, not necessarily something I would be into, and I'm not the moral police, but if you want to take nude photos of yourself or get weird or do whatever that might seem lewd to others, cool, do that thing as long as you're not hurting anyone else and you're comfortable with it. But you can't be so dumb. Kids are exploratory. Kids are nosy. Kids are smart, and they're going to be able to find those things. And I'm not saying if I'm in that same situation, I'm a kid, I'm not saying I'm not trying to do the exact same thing, because I might be. I don't understand consequence at 16.
Well, and also, I mean, I guess you can just sort of make the fact that these nude photos in her phone were of her, and just say, look, you carried a device with pornographic content into a school with minors. I think that if I'm the lawyer for the school district, I'm doing that, because yes, for the most part, what you do in your personal life should not affect your job, because it shouldn't affect what you're able to do on the job. But she did have nude photos, whether it was of her or not, on a device in a place where there's a lot of people under the age of 18. And I think that if you want to strip all that away, no pun intended, that should actually be the core issue that got her let go.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of really poor judgment in this. All these things, Hulk Hogan, this teacher. You would be better served if you were that concerned about your privacy and your intimacy to not put those things on film. Do not record yourself nude. Do not record yourself in lewd actions if you cannot handle the consequences that might arouse if those things become public.
Well, I got a question for you before we break here, Fred.
Yeah.
And I'd be very interested in picking your brain on this, because at your day job, you're a boss.
Yeah.
You make hiring and firing decisions, don't you?
Regularly.
Okay. So, let's say this woman's not a teacher, okay? She works at a department store or somewhere where she's not necessarily around minors all the time.
Sure.
And let's say that she is responsible and she doesn't take a cell phone full of nude photos of herself to work, but she's in a long-term relationship, spices things up, sends some nude pictures to a boyfriend, they break up, and he posts them online. Now, let's say that this woman is applying for a job with you, and she's qualified, she nails the interview, she's good at her job, her references are sterling. You type in a Google search, and Google Images, you see a picture of her nude. Does that make you not want to hire her?
I tell you what, I've had a situation not so dissimilar from this, and I'll give you my reaction when we return. You're listening to The Weigh-In on 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com, Weigh-In Radio, Cave Radio Sports, PendulumPodcast.com, a million other options. Follow us on social media. See you in a minute.
All right. Decent first segment. We were a little rusty, but you know.
All right, I can tell you this story, but I gotta walk real lightly.
Okay.
Okay, I think I got it.
Okay, here we come. And go ahead and bring us back in. And then once you're done giving the story, I'll give you my thoughts on it. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
Got him!
Weighинradio.com.
Mike, you had asked me before the break if I'd ever been in a situation where I was doing my own research on a prospective employee and they were basically a flawless employee, except they may have some lewd photos online, either beknownst or unbeknownst to them, but not at their own fault. Is that correct?
Yes, and you have me on the edge of my seat in anticipation.
I tell you, I hire roughly 100 part-timers every summer. I work for the municipality I live in, and I run the Parks and Rec. With that said, kids these days have no shame in the sense that it is not abnormal for them to take a photo of themselves and send it to their friends. And I'm talking young kids,
right?
And then these photos, they circulate around to each other, and it's almost like when me and you were kids and there was like baseball trading cards. Like that's
exactly.
That's how terrible this epidemic is. Epidemic is Snapchat. There's just a lot of really easy ways for kids to do this. With that said, when you go to these kids' social media or you go to prospective employees or Google searches or whatever, every so often an image or an occurrence will show up and it's not necessarily nude. It's not necessarily, but let's say it's underage drinking. Let's say it's some other of abuse. And kids these days, Mike, do not understand the severity of allowing those images to be in a public domain because they're accessible by simply everyone. And yeah, it absolutely hurts your employment opportunity. The one specific one I have is a young lady came in and she says, "Hey, I would like to work here. I'm excited." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I talked to her and she had the best personality in the world. And then I went and creeped on her social media page, and her social media page told me how she did not think that men that loved other men and women that loved other women should even be allowed to live on this earth. And I said, "Oh my gosh, no. Like, no. You are a bigot and you are a hate-filled and you were just a kid."
Yeah, and you know what? I guess that's where it gets into kind of murky territory because I think that people incriminate themselves a lot voluntarily. Like everyone's afraid of the NSA tapping their phone, their phone calls or whatnot. But a lot of people, they tell on themselves voluntarily. And I think that it's all right to use social media if you're an employer to get a sense of an employee's character before you hire them. And I think that in this case, Fred, where this person was expressing non-tolerant views, I think that demonstrates an inability to work with people.
It brings up a real question to me. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike. I apologize. Okay. It brings up a real question to me of character because it's one of these things is fake. Either the conversation I just had with you for 10 minutes, and I think you're the nicest kid I've ever met, is either fake or the social media persona you have where you're bigoted and hate-filled is fake. And I don't know which one is which. And, then that means I cannot trust you.
Well, it's funny because, Facebook and Twitter, it's sort of people's ids throwing up online because, I mean, you're right, Fred. I know a ton of people who I call Facebook douches. Totally nice people. When you meet them in person, if you have a disagreement, you guys have a nice back and forth and you're laughing, patting each other on the back. And then you go on Facebook and they're just cussing out every little thing that bothers them. So I guess getting back to the question about being an employer and finding nudes of someone who you're ready to hire, I guess that's just a question on if you think that's morally disagreeable or not. Me personally, I really don't, because I think a lot of times I have a feeling that if you had 100 people, male and female, in a room under the age of 30, I would say the vast majority of them have sent naked pictures to somebody. To me, it's sort of just like, hey, you know what? Everyone out there has sex, and a good majority of them they send lewd pictures back and forth to whoever they're getting it on with as sort of a tease. So I think that I don't think there's the stigma that there was 10 years ago.
According to a Cosmopolitan survey, 9 out of 10 millennial women have sent nude photos.
Right, and some people send them for different reasons, like or some may take them for different reasons. I mean, a woman may be trying to see what she looks like from an angle, and she doesn't send it to anyone, but it gets put up in a cloud and it gets hacked. Me personally, if I ran into this situation where everything about an employee seemed perfect, but there was one nude photo of them that showed up online, I think I'd still hire them because
I agree, and I'm in like a management role, right? I'm in a leadership role,
right?
I did not know when I took the job and I went through the interview process and I filled out the application and the resume that I would need to become an expert in sexting. I didn't know that was a thing.
It's just a bonus, really.
No, it's the opposite of a bonus.
Yeah.
It's the most tedious part about management is the actual managing of people. The facility I work for, everything's great. The employees are uncontrollable, man. And in my specific situation, they're kids. They're just young, and everything that happens to them. Oh, excuse me. And everything that happens to them is the most serious thing that's ever happened to them because nothing else has ever happened to them.
Right.
So it's a terrifying transitional kind of period in their life where when those things do happen, and man, they happen. Like they happen regularly, and they happen to the girl next door and the captain of the baseball team. Those kids can end up like pretty shocked. You just got to be. You got to be solid for them because often they're at a level of fault, but they're at an even higher level of embarrassment.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of times, especially if you said 9 out of 10 millennial women.
That's what Cosmopolitan says.
So number one, if you disqualify people just because they have nudes on the internet, you're going to have no one left to hire. And number two, I think the level of fault that they have is trusting the wrong person. So to me, I think that's a mistake in judgment, not a mistake in morals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the judgment issues, you just have to be smarter. Like, if you're gonna do it, just don't show your face, man. Be unrecognizable. Yeah. Like there's deniability there. That's the bottom line. The number one rule of nudes is do not show your face. That's a given.
And the other, don't get any recognizable tattoos if you're going to be sending nudes. Is there an app? Is there a phone app, Fred, where you can like easily like edit out tattoos of nudes? I think that would do very well.
Oh, I don't know. Let's build it.
Can we patent it right here? Here on the air?
I think the way I understand poor men patents, yeah. So you take that, Sean Parker. We're building this ourselves.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll mail an air check of this to myself because if it goes through the mail, then that's an official government document, right?
Federally certified. Yes.
Yeah.
So put it on a zip drive, put it in the mail it to yourself, keep that mail sealed, and then we will own this, Sean Parker.
Yeah. Nobody. And look, if anyone out there wants to give us a lot of money for the idea, we'll do that too. Because
you're specifically talking to Sean Parker.
Sean, is that the Napster guy?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's in the news. He was in the news this week. He said he has a plan to build, and it's kind of already being done. But it's full subscription, like on-demand TV options for movies in theaters. So I think it'll work. I don't hate it at all. I would be willing to pay at or near $20 to sit in the comfort of my home and watch a not pirated version of The Hunger Games.
And you know what? Then that is going to force movie theaters to do even more wacky crap to try to draw you to their theaters. And it also means every time Sean Parker gets an idea, Lars Ulrich is going to sue him.
Sean Parker hates Lars Ulrich, but loves the attention he gets from Lars Ulrich.
That's true. Well, I think my favorite thing about Lars Ulrich is now people just try to like bait him into suing them. Like every now and then in the news, some band will perform under the name of Metallica and see how long it takes for them to get a cease and desist letter?
I did not know.
Maybe we
Like,
should do that.
They're not just covering like a song. They're saying that they are Metallica.
Yeah, they're saying their name is Metallica, and they're playing at Johnny's Dive Bar and Grill this Saturday, and then people show up, and it's just some jackass accountant that didn't hire a woman this week because she was nude on the internet.
Okay, that's a good one. The thing about like trademarks and copyrights is we could be Metallica podcast and they could not sue us because it's not music.
Right.
We can do it. We can
and
do
we
whatever we
spell
want.
it-
You want to open Metallica burger and fries? We can do that.
Yeah, if you go to metlika.podbean.com. That's us. That's us. You can listen to us. Lars
I like
Ulrich slow.
I like the idea of because you would think with like Metallica for specifics. Metallica, yeah, we're about art and creating. We don't want to be encumbered by the man, but as soon as they get a chance to like utilize the man, you take that Sean Parker, who a lot of name drops today for Sean Parker.
Yeah, geez, why don't you just marry Sean Parker?
I would if he was actually Justin Timberlake, like he was in the movie. What was the name of that movie? The Social Network, Distortion.
It was
Facebook.
it was the movie about MySpace, right?
No, Facebook.
Oh, okay. Hey, who would play Tom? Who would play Tom in the sequel to The Social Network?
Well, the guy who was in Facebook is now the guy that plays Lex Luthor.
Right, he's branching out.
Yeah.
Facebook's kind of running its, which is funny because if there's one person that I can anticipate becoming a supervillain, it's Mark Zuckerberg.
He's already on his way, I assume. He said he was giving away all of his money, but to who? To what?
To whoever can build the best death laser.
Hank Scorpio? Is that who's getting the money?
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, he runs Globotech. It was Homer worked there for one episode.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
basically my favorite episode of The Simpsons. I have two favorite things. One episode of The Simpsons, it's the one where Homer works for Hank Scorpio, Globotech, and I think it's called You Can't Go Home Again too. And then also Oasis's Wonderwall.
Yeah. Well, 1 out of 3 of those things are terrible.
No, I only named 2 things, but I see what you're doing.
It's the weigh-in, weighинradio.com. I wasn't timing that. I'm guessing that was long enough.
Yeah, it was fine.
I lost concentration halfway through because I noticed there's a picture of you in sunglasses over your shoulder.
It was from my 30th birthday party. Everyone at it signed it.
Oh,
My wife
That's
does that kind of shit, man. I don't know.
that's nice. That's what wives do, you know.
She's like a good wife.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wish I still loved her.
Yeah. Well, she seems to like you okay.
You want to talk about the story of the week? Adam LaRoche.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Duh.
Okay, great. I didn't know if you want to talk about that because you talked about it anyway, but already. But
Have you listened to any of the shows?
I listened to the first one, but then like I was listening, and Matt was like responding to you in ways that I would respond to you. So I'm like, I can't listen to this, or else this is going to be in my head.
I just say the opposite of everything he says. It makes it way easy.
Yeah. Well, that's the old formula, right?
Yeah. No, Matt. Here's why you're wrong.
Yeah. Also, I may want to talk about. We'll talk Adam LaRoche first, but there have been. I mean, the memes for the basketball tournament this year have just been phenomenal.
I hate him. I said that. I made a social media thing about it. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. But okay,
I said NCAA are gifts about. What did I say? Hold on, let me get it. I'm ready for that whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, let's do LaRoche first, and then, or do you want to do the memes first?
Oh, the memes.
Okay, here we go. Then I'll start it. Here we go.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
Weighинradio.com.
And just to reiterate, having naked pictures of yourself on the internet does not make you an S word. I mean, you might be one, but just because there's one or two does not make you an S word. It is the weigh-in, weighинradio.com, 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com, home of the Heavy Hitters weeknights. Let's see, caveradiosports.com, pendulumpodcast.com. And Fred, I think so far the story of March March Mayhem. You can't say madness.
No.
Follow right by March because you'll get sued like Lars Ulrich. So far, the best thing about March insanity has not been the upsets, have been the memes. The memes for this year, the basketball tournament, have been hilarious. And that's coming from a Michigan State fan who suffered the worst upset in the history of the tournament, losing to Middle Tennessee State University Tech, A&M.
We had Audrey Dahlgren on the other day, who's a Michigan State grad. She used to cover some sports in Detroit. Actually, you might know her. I don't know, maybe you don't. But she runs the weekend newscast here for the local sports NBC Sports affiliate. So, anyways, she's a Michigan State girl. We had her on the show and she on the heavy hitters, and she says, "Yeah, I love Michigan State. I went there. I don't think they got it this year." Dang, did she call it?
Well, she was the only one because I guess according to ESPN, the second most predicted team to win it all was Michigan State.
Well, she done screwed that one up.
And even before the slate of upsets on Friday, I guess 99% of everyone's brackets were busted. I think only 1% of all brackets were still perfect, and now there are no more perfect brackets.
Isn't that crazy? Like we're through day 2, like and they're all done.
Right, and I don't know what does that say, Fred? Does it say that there's more parity now between the majors and the mid majors? Are these just teams that the committee just over-guessed on, or are these teams that were just looking past the first round gimme and got punched in the mouth?
This is the year where so many teams came in with those question marks, right? We don't have like a real superstar in NCAA basketball. We don't have a team that's head and shoulders above everyone. A lot of people would argue Kansas, but if Kansas doesn't win the whole thing, no one's going to be surprised. And with that said, I like that all these brackets are busted so early because that's really going to change the way this thing's watched. Like there was a time whenever I had first made my bracket, I wanted to see that Michigan State Kansas final. Well, now I don't. Now I want to see Duke North Carolina. Now I want to see a game I can actually get hyped about. And busting brackets is, ironically enough, made me more interested in the tournament.
Well, and I think that when there's an upset, people will get behind the underdog, right? Gonzaga, Davidson, Butler. But back then, there was only one of those teams that beat a couple teams they shouldn't have and made a run. This year, I can't even keep track of them. This year, Fred, dare I say that I think that we are getting burnt out on the upset.
No. Hard no. I will go as far as to say Cinderella stories are nice until it comes time for the next game. You love to see an upset, but you don't get hyped to watch a 15-6 game because a 15 beat a 2. Like you don't think 15 is going to pull through in the next round.
How about Stephen F. Austin versus Arkansas Little Rock final?
No, and which is those are the favorites. Let's redraw the brackets. I'll do a round of 32 bracket. But I agree that those games you don't get hyped for. But as you're watching them, as you're watching the underdog just battle away, and specifically if you're at the venue, if you're at the arena, because like with the Michigan State game the other day, Michigan State's playing, and as it's kind of winding down, and it looks like they're not going to make it. That game was here in St. Louis, by the way. The Wisconsin fans start coming in, and they're just anti-Michigan State as hard as you can be. And those underdog teams they get that lift, they get that energy, they get that life. And it makes, for that moment, a really good game. For the next game, it makes me like find something else to do on Sunday night.
Right, because for the most part, the team that shocks the world, they're going to get killed in the next game because they're going to go against a team that deserves to be there. They won their first game, so they're a little bit more legitimate than the fraudulent high seed they beat in the first game. And oh, by the way, this team they're going up against in the next round, they're like, oh wow, they beat they beat that team. Okay, we better play hard. And major basketball programs best is much better than mid-majors best, and you're going to start seeing blowouts maybe as late as the Sweet 16, maybe even the Elite 8.
Yeah, well, and the best teams are going to end up being the best teams, and this is fun early because these guys have time and they prepare and they put on a fun show. But and every so often it happens where one will make a run, but I don't foresee it this year. So whenever it comes down to it, the Elite Eight are going to be pretty household names, and then your champion is, I mean, it's probably still going to be Kansas, I would think. But I know a lot of blowouts early. We were talking about on the heavy hitters. How do you watch the game, Mike? How do you take in tournament?
I'm a flipper arounder. I've got to be honest, Fred. I didn't watch the first half of the Michigan State game just because it was the first round. And like the basketball team, I figured that it'd be a blowout. So I said, "Oh, I'll catch the second half and watch that." Holy crap! They're down by however many they were down by at halftime, and so now I'm listening to the rest of the game. I'm watching the rest of the game, thinking to myself, "Okay, any second now, Michigan State is going to turn it on and just start pulling away," and they never did. So now that quote unquote my team is out, I can be an objective observer, and I can enjoy sort of March insanity for what it is. The unlikely underdog coming out of nowhere and making a run. Watching a team like Kansas play the game the right way. I can just kind of sit back and enjoy the storylines as an objective observer instead of being on the edge of my seat all month. Now, obviously, you'd rather have your team in there, but it's sort of like, okay, we've been knocked out. Now I can just enjoy the game from the bench, so to speak.
What does this do for a guy like Tom Izzo? What does this do for Michigan State? Because they're a team that so often is at the top of the mountain. Is this a Cleves curse for this team? Is this a
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you, Fred? Yeah, you know what? I never even thought about that. The same week, their second biggest star next to Magic Johnson gets into legal trouble. They lose the worst upset in NCAA tournament history. The Cleves curse, Fred. I think you're onto something.
Yeah, we talked earlier about coining some things. Let's coin this. The Mateen Cleves curse is what has happened to your Michigan State Spartans. Is this a setback for your guys here in the Big Ten, or is it next year? Is it business as usual? And this they vow to never have this kind of thing happen again. Blah blah blah.
Well, it's funny because Tom Izzo, up until this game, has been known as Mr. March. Last year Michigan State had sort of a down year in the regular season, and they made a run to the Final Four. What I think this does to Izzo, I guess it depends on how much longer he coaches. I think that if they get back on track next year, make it to the Sweet 16 and above, this is just going to be sort of a fluke. I don't think that this is a legacy breaker for Tom Izzo. I think what happened is the Spartans were caught flat-footed, and yes, that is on the coach, but he's had such a consistent track record of excellence that I think that this is sort of just a pimple on the butt.
You can pop that. You can figure that out. To me, because they're already naysayers. The Big Ten in particular, they're already naysayers. They look good because they play weaker conferences and they play down. And whenever they play each other, then Northwestern looks good or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, Michigan State, they're going to end up being all right. Tom Izzo, this is not going to be like a thing that affects like his legacy. I necessarily think. How many championships you got up there?
He's got one national championship, but he has quite a few Final Fours. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but which is weird, Fred. It seems like in college basketball, the Final Four is almost good enough. Once you make the Final Four, it doesn't really matter what you do afterwards. But surprisingly, he's only got one national championship.
Yeah, and that is surprising to me because I thought for certain he had more, which is kind of shows my ignorance to this. He has to take away something from it. Michigan State fan has to take away something from it, specifically with how well Michigan played the other day in their playing game. This is a tough one for me because when you do get beat by a team that you didn't even know existed before the game started, you had no idea. Guys that are at the top for you they could question you. It could waver a little bit, and I don't know who's going pro or who's not coming back or whatever, but but you have to get this ship right away. And the worst part is you have 4-5 months to think about it. That's going to wear.
Well, and I think these 5 months, this is going to be the low point of it all, because, of course, these next 5 months, Michigan fan and people who don't like Michigan State can kind of talk and say just how bad the Spartans were beat by a nothing team. And this is going to linger around till next March. And next March, they're going to have to make a run. But if they make that run, this will be, this taste will be rinsed out of their mouth, especially if they win a Final Four, and especially if they win a national championship next year. Then I think that actually helps Izzo, because it shows him bouncing back from adversity. And by the way, a Google search, Izzo has gone to 7 Final Fours.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, but only 1 national championship. So
yeah, always a bridesmaid. Well, one time a bride.
Yeah. Which, hey, you know what? If you've been a bridesmaid 7 times and only once a bride, I think you're doing okay in life. It shows you can establish long friendships and good marriages.
We're up against it, Mike. You got any final thoughts on Izzo before we go to our last break?
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Every year, whenever Michigan State loses a big time player like Draymond Green, you had a Denzel Valentine replacing him. And next year, next year, another senior will step up. So Michigan State will be fine. Tom Izzo will be fine. And but hey, Michigan fan, I've got to give it up to you. You guys have put out some hilarious memes. They put out a Magic Johnson cry face instead of a Michael Jordan cry face. And like I said, I think this year, even though your team has been bounced too, I think that the folks who come with these memes, they're the real winners of March Insanity.
There's nothing I hate more than all these gifs of NCAA brackets bursting. Like it's like a picture of the rim, and then like the Texas logo is about to go in it, and then it's denied, and you're like, oh yeah, I get it. Hawaii denied it.
I do like the one when Stephen F. Austin beat West Virginia. There is a video of Stone Cold Steve Austin giving someone a stunner with the West Virginia logo over him. That one was pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like I hate that stuff. If you're listening to The Weigh-In, 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com.
Cool. All right, let's see.
Hey, Sports had just said lots of players had complained about Drake LaRoche.
Did they? Well,
Yeah.
I actually agree with the White Sox on it.
Oh, I only agree with the White Sox.
Yeah. So, okay, so here we go. We'll go about 10 minutes because we're at 48 right now. I know we started we started a couple minutes late. So if we go to 60, then that'll give me time to put commercials in. And
Cool.
So okay, so here we go. You want to bring us in? You want me to?
No, you.
Okay, here we go.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
These guys are like bad stand-up comics that you can't heckle.
WeighInRadio.com.
So, Fred, since we're talking about you being in management here, what would you do if you were trying to run a professional business and some guy wanted to bring his kid to work every day?
I have a policy at work. If someone wants to do something or implement something or change something, that's absolutely perfectly fine with me. We can discuss it. That thing, though, has to be acceptable to the majority. So, for instance, and I said this on Heavy Hitters, if you want to do something at the workplace, you have to ask yourself, if everyone else did this exact same thing, would it be okay for the workplace? And with bringing your kid to the ballpark, Adam LaRoche, that's not absolutely okay for the workplace.
Right, and of course, that's who we are talking about, Adam LaRoche. He retired from baseball when the Chicago White Sox told him that he can't bring his kid to work with him every day. Now, I guess this sort of just came up on my radar once it happened. How long has this been going on? Has it just been this season? Has he been bringing his son to work with him every day for a couple years now? How far back does this go?
Years. It goes back years. And then allegedly Drake was with the team for 100. Drake LaRoche, Adam LaRoche's son, was with the team for 120 games last season.
Yeah. And, a lot of people out there are saying, oh, how could the White Sox have asked him not to bring his kid to work? Well, okay. It's a baseball team, but it's still a workplace. And bringing a kid to the workplace is not conducive to anything because, number one, you have to watch what you say and do around them. Number two, they don't really serve a purpose within the organization. And number three, I think the first two reasons were good enough.
There's people who are crying against the White Sox. People who are in favor of the White Sox are people that do not get it, in my opinion. The clubhouse, the bullpen, the field, the team bus, the plane, travel. These places are all offices for these guys. This is where they work. With my day job, I have an office, but I work in the city I live in. I'm constantly at work, even if I'm not at my desk, okay? And you have to understand this job, specifically for Major League Baseball players and teams, is hindered by distractions. These are guys of routine. These are guys of, what's that called when you're superstitious all the time? Superstition. These are guys of that spend 90% of the game is mental, right? These are guys that have to be comfortable in their surroundings, and no one is comfortable around a snot-nosed little 13-year-old kid.
Right. And by all accounts, he's a good kid and well-behaved, but that's beside the point. Think of any workplace, okay? Say you work at a bank. Say you work at an auto shop or something. Okay, if there is a kid around, can you run your day-to-day business? And that's no. I mean, it's one thing like, okay, hey, you know what? The babysitter's sick and canceled at the last minute. Can I bring my kid to work with me today for a day? Yes, that's fine. Here's some coloring books. Keep him out of our hair. But if he keeps showing up over and over and over, it's like this isn't a babysitting service. This is a job.
If Dusty Rhodes wants to bring his son to the World Series because it's the World Series, I freaking get it. That's the World Series. That makes perfect sense to me. I know JT Snow had to save him at home plate, and that was the cutest thing in the history of sports.
I think you mean Dusty Baker. You said Dusty Rhodes. I thought you were talking about he brought gold dust to the World Series.
Obviously, I apologize to any Dusty Baker fans out there. I'm a big fan of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah. We were talking Hulk Hogan earlier. We were talking Hulk Hogan earlier. That's probably right. But yeah, you're right. It's the World Series, and even he got in the way.
Yeah, he was only there one time. He got in the way. We were talking about it on the heavy hitters, but when Drew Brees lifts his son up and he's got those big cans over his ears for all the sound after the Super Bowl, I love that moment, man. That is a great moment. And you know why it's a great moment? Because it's unique. That moment is Christmas. If you have Christmas every single day, Christmas don't mean crap.
Right, exactly. And if it's Christmas every day and you have a bunch of kids running around Santa's workshop, there's not going to be Christmas because you can't be productive. Now, it seemed like earlier in the week, the narrative was that the majority of players were against the decision to ask Adam LaRoche to leave his son at home. But much like any group of people, it turns out that opinions are split on that.
Yeah, and allegedly, a lot of players, and not just players, but support staff. So we're talking trainers and front office guys and people that are involved with the business side of the team, did not even feel comfortable going to Adam LaRoche and telling him. They would go to management, or they would go to, which is obviously why I got to Kenny Williams, and he said stop it, because people were complaining.
Right.
With that said, it kind of speaks to the sensitivity of Adam LaRoche. Is he not just the biggest crybaby in the whole world where you can't even talk to him about anything, and he quits his job once he gets told one thing he doesn't like, and he's a huge puss? Well,
yeah, and also, if you're one of the teammates, what are you going to do? Go up to Adam LaRoche and be like, hey, man, stop bringing your kid here. No, no one wants to hear that. No one wants to tell someone that their kid's not welcome. So I could see why maybe Adam LaRoche felt like people didn't have a problem with it. But you're right. It's like, okay, it's nice. It's nice to have enough money to tell your workplace to buzz off if they do something you don't like. But you're walking away from $13 million. And it's important for dads to spend time with their kids, right, Fred? Your dad's your hero. My dad was my hero growing up. but part of that is setting boundaries. And I think I think what you're doing, if you're taking your kid to work all the time, you're giving them a sense of entitlement.
Oh, you absolutely are. And is there anyone more entitled than professional baseball player?
Yes, they're kids.
Yeah, duh, they're kids. Because, hey, not only does professional baseball player feel like they don't work a day in their life, their kids sure as heck don't work a day in their life. Like,
right. It's because all their money was earned by their parents, not by them.
Duh. It speaks a little bit to like this new like acceptance of like different societal dynamics that today's modern man, you know, doesn't chop wood in the forest. You know, he wears a what's that sling called that holds a baby in front of you? Like just stuff that in my opinion is just the wussification of America. And Adam LaRoche he's now, fortunately for him, become the poster child of dads who are pansies.
Well, and you know what this does too now? Now we're talking about his kid, which is weird. You know, we're talking about a 13-year-old kid, but he put his kid in that position instead of saying, "Hey, look, son, love spending time with you. You can come visit me at the ballpark every now and then, but I've got a job to do, and we're trying to conduct a business." He said, "No, if my kid can't be here every day, then I quit." Okay, so now the kid's under scrutiny. That's not really fair to the kid, but that's what Adam LaRoche has sort of indirectly done. Is he's put his kid under scrutiny.
I promise you that Adam LaRoche is a huge wiener. I promise you that. There are rules in the clubhouse about family members, and I bet they're different for every single clubhouse. And Adam LaRoche is the guy who abuses those rules, and I bet he abuses everything. He goes to a hotel, he probably gets 50 pillows, like because he does weird crybaby stuff all the time. Because he's a weird crybaby. Because I hate everything about him.
My son wants to build a pillow fort on road trips. Bring me all your pillows. Yeah.
Hey guys, I know we usually stay at the Hampton Inn, but there's a Chuck E. Cheese over by the Drury Inn that I think would be good. No, Adam LaRoche, shut up, and Drake, shut up too. Go back to school.
Yeah, we'll pay for his Greyhound back home. Just shut up. We got to shut up, Fred, because it's time for us to get out of here.
Adam LaRoche doesn't care that I'm saying this because he'll take his $13 million and leave.
That's true. Well, and you know he probably doesn't need the money, but it's still weird. It's just whatever happened to tell your kids to shut up and go home.
Hey, when I was 13 years old, there's nowhere on the entire face of the earth my dad didn't want to be more than next to me. I sucked, and I know Drake LaRoche sucks, just like his sucky dad doesn't have any friends.
You know what my dad would have said if I showed up at his workplace when I was 13? What are you doing here? I'm calling your mother to pick you up right now.
I one time went to my dad's work when I was 13, and I was terrified. Because there were grown-ups there that I didn't know.
Yeah, when I went to work with my dad when I was 13, I was bored to tears. I couldn't wait to leave. But we really do have to leave, Fred, because we're going to crash into the next show. It's the Weigh In, WeighInRadio.com, PendulumPodcast.com, 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com, CaveRadioSports.com. See ya. All right, we are clear